Dan, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay.
Actually, at the EDA meeting.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Kelly.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
We'll get started here in just a moment.
Mara, I can't believe you're out by the Broadway roundabout without a coat on.
I know, I'm so Minnesotan of me.
Good one, Donovan.
I'm naive that way.
It's my unpaid marketing tool for work. Everyone asks, where are you? Where is your background? It's a beautiful downtown Forest Lake.
Well, don't they start off with, where is that beautiful place?
Yeah. All right, it is just past 7 o'clock and we have a quorum of council. I will call our council meeting to order. Karen, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Husnick,
Here.
Councilmember Munson,
Here.
Councilmember Byström,
Here.
Councilmember Valento,
Here.
Mayor Bain.
Here. I'd like to invite everybody to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would like to shut off your camera before you rise to do so, you can do so on the bottom left-hand side of your Zoom tray. We'll display the flag here. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance to the flag
to the flag
of the United
of the
States of America and to the
to the
republic
republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Council, we have an agenda before you this evening. I will entertain a motion to approve or any changes.
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Byström and a second from Councilmember Husnick. Karen, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Husnick,
Here. Aye. Excuse me.
Councilmember Munson,
Aye.
Councilmember Byström,
Aye.
Councilmember Valento,
Aye.
Mayor Bain.
Aye, agenda is approved. Our next item this evening is open forum. Karen, do we have any attendees or any submissions for open forum this evening?
Let me look at the attendees. I do not have any submissions for tonight. No attendees. There was somebody who was referred to the open forum. She couldn't make it tonight, so she plans on being at the meeting on the 22nd. So tonight I have nobody.
All right. We will move on to the consent agenda. And I will entertain a motion to approve or any, oh, go ahead, Councilmember Valento.
I just have a comment for the minutes from January 25th. On page 33, it says motion to approve the gravel road assessment policy. And it says that I said aye when I said nay.
Can we hold your comments until, so let's pull let's pull those minutes from the consent agenda. We'll put them on the regular agenda so we're able to capture that feedback. Any other changes to the consent agenda? Sam, go ahead.
I would make a motion then that we approve the consent agenda, pulling item 6B.
And can I make a friendly amendment to that to also pull item 6D, the emergency declaration extension? Just a quick discussion item on that.
I'll accept that amendment.
Excellent. So there is a motion, and is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion from Councilmember Husnick and a second from Councilmember Munson. And could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Husnick,
Aye.
Councilmember Munson,
Aye.
Councilmember Byström,
Aye.
Councilmember Valento,
Aye.
Mayor Bain.
Aye, and consent agenda is approved. Okay, move down to the regular agenda for discussion. Approve item 6B, approve meeting minutes from January 25th, regular council meeting. Councilmember Valento, go ahead.
Thank you. So I just wanted to note that on page 33 of the entire agenda packet, the minutes said that I said aye when I said nay. So I just wanted to make that note.
And that was specifically for the gravel road paving policy.
Correct, yes.
Any other amendments to those minutes? With that, I would motion Sam, go ahead.
Well, based on that, Madam Mayor, I would make a motion that we approve the minutes with the appropriate correction.
I'll second.
Motion from Councilmember Husnick and a second from Councilmember Byström. Karen, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Husnick,
Aye.
Councilmember Munson,
Aye.
Councilmember Byström,
Aye.
Councilmember Valento,
Aye.
Mayor Bain.
Aye. Minutes are approved. Our next item is the resolution 02082101, the emergency declaration extension to April 21st, 2021. I pulled this from the consent agenda just because I wanted to have a discussion. I am in support of the extension of the emergency declaration. And I think after numerous conversations with Pete over a period of time, I understand the rules of the open meeting law around the emergency declaration and our ability to meet in a remote setting. My request isn't that we change our current remote meeting policy. My request is more of a tactical question to staff.
Oh, Mara, we just lost you.
I think we lost her.
I think so too.
She froze to death.
On the bridge by the roundabout. Donovan.
We'll give her a minute or so and try to make a little short recess. Okay, I think she's having some problems here, folks, so. I think what Mara wanted to talk about on this particular issue is the fact that we need to have that emergency declaration in place so that we can have these meetings while this is going on under the governor's regulations. And also to remind everybody, it's kind of a living document that we can change along the way. Really would like to have Mara be back for any kind of a vote on that particular issue. So
Acting Mayor Husnick, would it make sense to table that item and just move on to regular agenda and come back to it?
yeah, let's table it until Mara's back online again. And what we'll do, we'll just move on to the next regular agenda item, which is the resolution of the $50 fire department. I understand, Al, you're going to be talking about that, Al Newman?
Yes, we received a $50 donation from Joan Paulson in January. Joan Paulson has been a big supporter of the Forest Lake PD and the Forest Lake Fire Department, and does a $50 donation every year. So I'd like to thank her for that, and we will be using that funds for fire prevention.
Well, thank you. Any discussion on that particular item, folks?
Acting Mayor Husnick, I would like to make a motion that we adopt resolution 02-08-21-02, a resolution accepting the $50 donation to the Forest Lake Fire Department from Joan Paulson with gratitude.
Thank you. Do I hear a second? Okay, we have a motion from Ms. Bystrom and Councilmember Munson with the second. And oh, sorry, Mara, you back?
Nope, keep going. I'll pick up at the next agenda item.
Okay, sure. So is there any further discussion on the $50 donation? If none, Karen, could you give us a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Councilmember Husnick,
Aye.
Councilmember Munson,
Aye.
Councilmember Byström,
Pick up at the
Aye.
next agenda item.
Okay. So
Councilmember Bellato,
is there
Aye.
any further discussion on the $50 donation? If not,
and
could you give us a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Bain.
Aye.
Sure. Councilmember Husnick.
Aye. Now we're getting.
Somebody has their YouTube turned up. Councilmember Byström.
Aye.
Okay.
Councilmember Bellato. Somebody has to turn the volume down on their YouTube that's playing right now. There's a 20-second delay on the YouTube live feed. And somebody has it on, they need to turn the volume down and we won't hear that feedback.
Well,
I think problem solved.
the motion has been approved, and Mara, you're back online. And the only thing we worked on was that $50 donation, and we left that resolution you were talking about.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. We will, let's go back. So the question is the question from the EDA is an inquiry as to whether city offices could be used not to host an official member of the downtown group or the EDA, but a small working group with a non-quorum of participants for some, community engagement meetings in small groups. It's a little outside of the scope of our emergency orders, but it was a request, and so wanted to get some feedback. Interested in council feedback, and interested in also if that's something that we want staff to look at, or if it's just not possible at current time.
Just to let the council know, we have not allowed outside public meetings in the building since the COVID and the emergency order has taken place. I believe the emergency order still maintains and still has in it a mandate to social distance. So that at least makes the two rooms in the first floor probably unusable by members of the public, and the only choice you might have is for the community room if you could properly social distance.
Any feedback from council on considering some level of some allowing some level of small group meetings? Or is there a preference we continue with current course?
Mar, can you say a little bit more about the meetings? When you say small group, is that 10 people, 4 people?
Yeah. I think the group is open to whatever guidelines we would feel necessary to put in place. I think a general thought would be that it is a member of the downtown committee, a member of our consulting team that is to be determined. We're in the process of evaluating a consulting group, and then 1 or 2 business owners, just to gather some, so it's more of to gather kind of small one-on-one feedback or small group feedback. Certainly if we wanted to put a limit of less than 10 people and up in the community room, so we're able to 6-foot social distance, I think that would be acceptable. But as we're engaging, as that group is thinking about engaging with some business owners, recognizing that there's some preference for that to be in person. I do think from a practical standpoint, in absence of us being able to host at the city, those meetings are probably taking place in person somewhere. I just think that there's some preference to use city space, and certainly we've got the whiteboard space and there's some logistics, benefit of being there. But if we wanted to put a limit in around hours of acceptable use or limits of number of people, I think the group would be amenable to that.
Well, I think, it sounds like it's a small enough group to be able to effectively distance from one another. Is there a mask requirement in that setting? That would be my first question. And then I think, when you take a look at, you take a look at congregating, it's the kind of the combination of the social distancing or ability to do that, the amount of time that anybody spends in that space and the number of people, that are kind of congregating together. And then you kind of throw some ventilation pieces in there too, which we probably don't have an issue with that, and do have a door we could throw open for a little period, a period of time if need be. But it sounds like it's a small enough group. I think if we were maybe to limit it to an hour or something, or, limit those meetings to an hour, it might be safe enough to do that with that size group.
To summarize, social distanced, so at least 6 feet apart, with masks up to an hour, no groups larger than 10, and utilizing only the community room, which would be the only room that really allows for that to effectively happen.
Can we fit 10 in that room 6 feet apart?
Yes, that would be about the maximum though.
Yeah.
And we'd probably require them to disinfect their hands, and we'd have to clean it before and afterwards, but that's something we can do.
So given those circumstances, we're probably talking about during the business day, right? When
yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
I'm looking at the emergency declaration. This is more of I think an operating consideration and not something that's specifically addressed in our emergency declaration resolution. Pete, maybe you could chime in and confirm that for me. So I think it's more of an operating consideration for staff than something that we would need to amend. But just want to make sure that my read of that is correct.
Your Honor, council members, you are correct. You can open City Hall under circumstances that council and staff are satisfied will still comply with the emergency directions of the governor, including the things that you've discussed.
And in that, Pete, just to make sure I'm thinking about this correctly, we would need to ensure that there is not a quorum of the EDA or that downtown committee together, because that would certainly, that then constitutes a public meeting, and that is outside of what we're able to do. Is that right?
Your Honor, that raises 2 questions. One is open meeting law and the other is the emergency declaration. Under the emergency declaration, council can be on an emergency footing and still hold council meetings in chambers. You can hold other meetings in City Hall to the extent that you feel it is safe and is, accommodate the social distancing, et cetera. In terms of the open meeting law, EDA cannot meet without noticing it. And then if you notice it, you're fine. And if it's not a regular meeting, the notice will have to expressly list the topics for that meeting. But otherwise, with no quorum of the EDA, we're fine. And I can't speak to the other group that you mentioned because I don't know what that body is, Your Honor.
It's a working group of the EDA. And I guess we've been consistent in, although there's been, a couple of our groups of commissions that have requested to resume open meetings or in-person meetings. We've been consistent on not doing that. And so that would be my preference as well, that we continue remote meetings. I think that is the safest alternative. This change from an operating standpoint just allows for some very small groups to meet with other stakeholders using city facilities. But that my intent would be that we would continue through the duration of this emergency declaration to have our official meetings still be remote.
Your Honor, members of council, I don't see an open meeting law issue as long as the small group committee has not been delegated any decision-making authority.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions or points?
I would just want to be certain that the size of that group could effectively socially distance in that space. If you're doing a maximum of 10, maybe we need to make a little bit of an adjustment if need be. But, I think it's important from the public perception side that we're in compliance with the governor's order and the rules. So.
I would agree. Well, with that, and with the feedback that this doesn't change our resolution as stated, I would motion that we approve resolution 0208-2101, the declaration and resolution extending declaration of local emergency. And I'm on my phone and not seeing everybody, so please just jump in if you would like to second.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second by Councilmember Byström. Any further discussion?
Deputy Clerk
ahead.
had her hand up, I think.
Go ahead, Karen. Thank you.
I did. My only concern would be, so the specific use of the room. I know the previous discussion in the EDA meeting was to try to meet with those planners in an in-person format. So my concern would be if we're allowing groups of 10 or less, is that open to everybody? Because I've received phone calls over time, whether or not city conference rooms are available. And I've, said, no, we're not open at this time. So now is this going to open this to anybody outside of city business that wants to come in and utilize the conference room if they have a group of 10 or less? That would be my only concern on this. And then allowing those groups to just come into the city. It doesn't relate necessarily to city business, but they're just looking for a space to meet.
And I would recommend at this point, we still have that restriction in place.
I am 100% okay with that as well.
Agreed.
So the clarification, it would be for small groups.
Related to the
Small-
downtown business study.
Yeah. Any other discussion points related to that? That's a good call out, Karen. Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the table. Karen, could we have a roll call?
Councilmember Husnick,
Aye.
Councilmember Munson,
Aye.
Councilmember Byström,
Aye.
Councilmember Valento,
Aye.
and Mayor Bain.
Aye. Motion approved. We are on to item 7B, which is ordinance 701-22552 Everton Avenue zoning map amendment. Donovan.
Thank you. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to present the zoning map amendment for the property located at 22552 Everton Avenue. And this property is located on the west side of the interstate. It is just north of the Timber Ridge apartment building here, shown on your screen. And the applicant is Mark Lambert of Summit Management, who is applying to have this property be consistent with the comprehensive plan, to go from the B2 highway commercial zoning to the MF multiple family density. And this was reviewed by the Planning Commission on January 13th. And one part of the conversation was questioning the high density zoning for this, and a general question around was it appropriate to be high density residential. This was reviewed during the comp plan preparation, and one piece of why I believed it was appropriate for the this more intensive residential zoning is because of the significant amount of wetlands on the site. Here, I'll show you in yellow here, the approximate wetland line. So you see there's basically 2/3 of the property is wetlands. Graphically shown, the change in within the zoning map is shown here. You can see the B2 square. This is the subject property on Everton. You change to MF. This is to allow Mr. Lambert to, one part of it, to allow the construction of a Timber Ridge 2 apartment building, and that's undergoing the preliminary PUD review with Plan Commission on this Wednesday night, though that is a separate application. And also what's most important about this is actually makes this property consistent with the long range future land use plan, which is for this property to be guided to a high density residential land use. So in some cases, it's a bit of housekeeping, and this is going to be happening citywide with transforming that future land use map into the different zoning districts. So there'll be some changes there. And unfortunately, this is not one that we didn't do that comprehensive rezoning prior to Mr. Lambert seeking to build an apartment there. So we're playing a little bit of catch up here. But in this case, actually, this does make the property consistent with the long range planning for the area, and that is something we will continue with throughout the city in this coming year. And it was a recommendation for approval from the Planning Commission on January 13th, and it is a staff recommendation that council adopt ordinance number 701. That is the official method to change the zoning on this property to that to multiple family. With that, I'm happy to take any questions from City Council.
Thank you, Donovan. I notice we also have Mr. Lambert here. Happy to give you an opportunity to speak. Council, maybe let's take some initial questions to Donovan and then see if Mr. Lambert has anything he'd like to add to the conversation. Council members, any questions for Donovan this evening? Donovan, I did have one question. You mentioned that there was a question raised during the Planning Commission process related to the appropriateness for high density residential. Can you expand on that a little bit? What was the nature of was it an objection, or what was the kind of the impetus behind that question?
Yeah, I would characterize it as an objection. There were a few people participating in the public hearing, and most residents of the adjacent residential. There's a collection of single family homes on Elston to the west there. And they looked at the current traffic volume of Everton, and specifically at that 19th Avenue intersection, and we're concerned about adding to that, with additional residents. For many people, and this is something we did stress, that Everton Avenue is in the midst of redesign to accommodate higher volume of traffic and make some safety and capacity improvements. And so that was some of that was, we're kind of ahead of the curve, and just I was at that planning commission meeting, alerting people to the January 19th workshop and encourage them to listen on that. And there would be, future public meetings that would describe exactly what those changes are, and more opportunities to comment on that. But within that planning commission discussion, we did reiterate, and commissioners reiterated that there was about a 2-year process in which there was the task force and multiple the survey. I mean, there were multiple public participation opportunities to learn more about that, and something of that frustration around, as much as we try to get the word out, with these planning initiatives, it never seems to kind of get purchased for some people, that this could, in the end, this could impact them. And also, I think what was part of this was in tandem with the site plan review for the apartment building. And there were some concerns about the site design, and actually, on this, again, separate application, but coming up on Wednesday, for an amended plan review. I think Mr. Lambert's made a great, effort to address those concerns of both the Plan Commission and those residents. And so, for instance, there was a storage and maintenance shed located approximately 35 feet from that western property line. Now it's about 260 feet from the property line. So I think what some people saw is very immediate, very close development has been made much more remote with that. And, also screening. I mean, I think there's been other changes to make that less of a presence in their, with their current lives. And again, it's always the change too. I mean, this one, the reason I brought up the wetland mapping on that was to show how there really is a large buffer for that. And also, as a highway commercial property, the main of those land uses really are horizontal focused, big box maybe for this 18.6 acre parcel. But when you only have about 7 acres of usable land, it's really hard to get that. Get your large retail space plus parking plus stormwater management, and so this seemed more appropriate. But so I think there's a little bit of education there, as well as just the Planning Commission saying we study this, and we believe this is the best land use.
Thank you, Donovan. That's helpful. Any other questions from council before we hear from Mr. Lambert? Not seeing any. Mr. Lambert, glad you're here this evening. Just wanted to give you an opportunity to speak if you had anything you wanted to add.
I'll be brief, just that we're making great progress. We've been working with the neighbors. This was originally submitted both as a PUD and a request to amend the zoning map to match the underlying comp plan. The Planning Commission approved the map amendment, and so obviously that's here tonight ahead of the PUD. Just want to assure the council we're taking our time at Planning Commission. They're doing a great job of vetting our site. We're working with the neighbors, as Donovan suggested. We've had some reductions in density, some increases in setbacks, and so I'm hopeful that we'll make it out of Planning Commission Wednesday night and not be long to come see the council with our PUD. But in the meantime, I'd ask you to approve the comp plan amendment that you have before you this evening, or the rezoning amendment that you have before you this evening.
Very good. Thank you for being here. Council will turn it back to you. Any additional questions at this time? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion. It's ordinance 701.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 701, an ordinance amending the City of Forest Lake official zoning map, rezoning property located at 22552 Everton Avenue North from highway commercial to multiple family.
And we've got a motion from Councilmember Munson and a second from Councilmember Husnick.
I'll
Any
second.
further, perfect. Any further discussion on this item?
Just to comment to Mr. Lambert, thank you for being a good partner in this process. I know sometimes we can bulldoze in and really not take into consideration those questions and concerns of, surrounding residents. And so I just want you to know that I appreciate that.
Excellent. We have a motion and a second on the table. Any further discussion? Karen, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Husnick,
Aye.
Councilmember Munson.
Aye.
Councilmember Byström,
Aye.
Councilmember Valento,
Aye.
Mayor Bain.
Aye. Motion's approved. Thank you for being here this evening, Mr. Lambert. Our next agenda item tonight is the memorandum of understanding MAPE agreement for the accounting and utility manager. Patrick, are you walking us
Yeah, I will
through
start,
this?
and if Sandy, you want to jump in and plead your case, you can do that as well. In front of you is a recommendation by staff that asking the council to approve a memorandum of agreement between the MAPE union and the city. What this agreement outlines is the addition of a manager of accounting and utility billing position. We have decided, and has been our plan, to move the utility billing back inside in-house and take it out of our current vendor's hands for quite a while now. If you recall, when we bought the new software last year, or maybe even the year before at this point, we did include a utility billing system in that purchase with this in mind. In the 2021 budget, we did budget a clerical position in the water, in the utility funds to assist in this process. Through a long evaluation and through a lot of discussion with myself and Sandy, it was decided that we needed a little bit more responsible person, a little bit higher educated, a little bit more, somebody with a little more talent to help implement this system and then keep this system running in the long run. We've got a lot of work to do. It's anticipated. I've attached a kind of an implementation schedule. It's anticipated sometime in the summer. Hopefully we'll cut over, maybe late fall, depending on how this goes. But in order to do this, we need this position. We believe, Sandy and I believe, that we need to move this back in-house. We are not satisfied with our current vendor. We're not satisfied with their performance. We're not satisfied with any of the day-to-day operation issues that they are having. We're concerned about the longevity and the stability of the system that they have, and we believe we need to change. So in order for us to move forward, we're asking the council to approve this memorandum of understanding, at which time after this, if you approve that tonight, we will begin to advertise to fill this position and get the implementation of the new utility billing system forward, going as soon as we possibly can. Sandy, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you did a great overview, and like Patrick said, we spent a lot of time evaluating this, and amidst, bringing in a utility billing system, looking at some of our neighboring cities, they have a supervisor of utility billing, and doing a lot of evaluation on this, it's quite evident why. You have to, I think this position is not only going to be helping with the utility billing system, but also with the overall accounting department and finance department to get it to the point of running the most effectively and efficiently as possible, because it will also help with the overtime and eliminating that overtime. And with the first evaluation, we looked at a lesser position just because it was, something that, was more cost effective maybe, but it wasn't necessarily going to give us the biggest bang for our buck, I think is where we got to the point, and not going to create that effective system that we're looking for.
Yeah, and also we hope by bringing this back in-house that we can be more efficient and we can offer better services to the citizens. electronic billing, electronic payments, maybe moving from a quarterly billing to either bi-monthly or monthly billing like other utilities do. We have to evaluate those, but no matter what we do, I think it's still in the city's best interest to take this responsibility back in-house and run this. I think we'll do a better job, particularly that the city has invested in brand new meters and meter reading systems that can be read much more efficiently, and hopefully cut down on the vast number of mistakes that we're having currently when we read meters.
Take myself off mute. Just for clarity, what is the action you're looking for this evening? So is there a?
The action is to approve the memorandum of agreement between MAPE and the city that will allow us to advertise and post this position to fill. And once we interview candidates, we'll bring that back and ask you to approve the hiring.
Thank you for clarifying. Council, questions of staff in general. Go ahead, Sam.
Madam Mayor, this is something that I'm really happy to see happening because this has been a problem for years. In our particular case, the last week or so, it's been even worse. And I've had discussions with Patrick about this thing, and I couldn't be happier about the idea that we're going to be moving in-house where it needs to be. My 2 cents.
Sam, if you lean back away from your computer, I think we will hear you better. You're breaking up.
Better now?
Yes.
Yeah, it seems as you get closer to your screen, it gets more static.
Yeah, okay. Try to make a point and it doesn't work. All right, well, I'll stay back.
We got your feedback, Sam. Councilmember Byström.
Yeah, in general, I agree with Councilmember Husnick. I prefer to bring this in-house versus outsourcing it. I do think we have much more control, and the issues that we've been having over the last couple of weeks are kind of a prime example. I've only been here a couple of years, but it certainly seems to be a frequent thorn in our side for us. My question is, I'm a little concerned. We just get a little more management heavy, and so that is a little bit of an issue of concern for me. How does this? What is the difference in education, skill set, training between the person you had intended to hire initially and the role that you're proposing we switch to, the manager versus the, kind of that more clerical role?
I think that, as Sandy alluded to, that once the implementation is finished, I mean, that's going to be a major portion of this person's duties, probably through the end of this year. Once that's done, we'd hope the utility billing will run itself, but then we can help at least part-time switch this person to more accounting duties and more supervisory duties. Sandy's planning a small reorganization of the department to rearrange job duties and things. This person will ask for somebody with accounting skills, hopefully a bachelor's in accounting. So if they have a CPA, that would be a bonus, won't be a requirement. But we need help on the accounting side as well, so that's this position will go forward to do more help with bank reconciliations, help with accounts payable, accounts receivable, help with the utility billing. And Sandy, you want to?
Yeah, absolutely. And, a lot of the research, because, I was kind of there too, I wanted it to be more of a lower position, but as we looked at it in more detail as far as what our needs are in order to bring this utility billing in-house, a lot of those lower level duties are already taken. I was starting to put a job description in place and realized there really wouldn't be much more for that person to do. Where we needed it was in that upper level management position. And after going and looking at other cities like the city of New Brighton, who just brought theirs in-house as well, that's exactly what they did. They brought a director of or assistant. They have an assistant director of finance, but a lot of the cities out there bring in more of a middle management type of position in order to run that utility billing, first of all, in a more effective way, but also to help manage the whole finance department in stopping those peaks, because we got a lot of peaks that happen during our the way we do business. And in order to stop those peaks from happening, we need somebody in that middle management area to be able to level that off. But this would be a 4-year degree, accounting degree, so they'd have that understanding of being able to do some of these things.
I support the the direction. So I support overall, we need to bring this in-house. I've been on council this is year 5, and this has been a problem long before my time on council. And this conversation has always been challenging up until we've had you, Sandy. It was challenging because we had an outsourced accounting team and everything was outsourced. And so there wasn't any capacity to build internal capacity. And so I also, as we think about doing that, I have no doubt in my mind that we have need for that mid-level skill set. I don't necessarily have a strong preference as to whether that's a manager level or whether that's a senior accountant level. If we could find somebody with a 4-year degree, senior accountant that's qualified and able to do this work, great. I don't know what the market bears or what those expectations are. And so I do think this is not an easy transition. And this is also requires a skill set of going between the legacy, provider and also our team and setting up the accounting system, that it's more than clerical. And if we could find the right person at the senior level, that's great. But I can also appreciate in today's market that might just be a manager. So I guess I don't have a strong preference. Other feedback? Do we need to make that decision as to level, whether it's a manager or a senior accountant today?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we can advertise it in a way that, if we find somebody that's got a different type of skill set that doesn't have a managerial type of skill set and it's more of a senior accountant, I think we can pivot a little bit on that. It's really going to depend on the responses we get from the advertisement. And that's the big one. The big thing here is that we need to have this approved between the union and us so that we can actually advertise for it.
If there is a way that we could start at the senior level and get somebody perhaps more junior in their career, and that manager level is part of their succession plan, and we build to that over a number of years, that might be ideal. But again, I'm not sure that's the candidate you're going to find. So
I think that salary schedule kind of goes there. It gives us that room to be able to start at that beginning for that more senior level person and kind of work their way up to that level of, because I think the market's going to be harder. I think you need to have that flexibility within that market to find a person, and you got that range of that salary schedule to figure out where you're going to put them in and where they fit.
other questions on this topic? Councilmember Husnick, go ahead.
I'm ready for a motion.
Go ahead.
Motion would be that the memorandum of agreement was made.
Sam, you're fading out.
I'm gonna try it here now.
Yes, try one more time.
Too far close, too far
This
back.
is perfect.
Yeah, make the motion then that we go ahead with the memorandum of agreement with NAPE and for a manager, so that we can go ahead and advertise for.
There is a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Husnick and a second from Councilmember Valento. Any further discussion on this?
Can you just clarify, Patrick or Sandy, this position will be paid 50% out of the general fund and 50% out of the enterprise fund?
That is correct. But then we're also going to be moving part of another general fund salary into the utility fund. So there's this, like I said, there's this overall reevaluation of the whole department and figuring out what's utility, but basically it's half and half.
Very good. We have a motion and a second on the table. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Karen, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Husnick,
Aye.
Councilmember Munson,
Aye.
Councilmember Byström,
Aye.
Councilmember Valento,
Aye.
Mayor Bain.
Aye. Motion approved. Our next item on the agenda this evening is Resolution 02082103, CSAH 33 Cooperative Agreement Project LRIP Grant Application. Ryan.
Mayor, City Council, within your packet is opportunity for us to find some additional funding towards our local share on the County State Aid Highway 33 project in 2024. If some of you are familiar, remember we were successful in obtaining this grant in 2015 that went to help fund the south leg of the Headwaters Parkway and Fenway and Parkway roundabout. With this grant solicitation just being released, we want to chase it and see where we fall. Hopefully, if we're not successful, there will be other solicitations between now and then as well. We are expecting this round of grants with this specific solicitation to probably be its most competitive ever. There was a large built up. They did do a solicitation previously in that was not awarded any money. And then the COVID stuff kind of came in, and then, a bunch of other stuff came about. So there's a lot of obviously built up of applications. And then there's also a lot of new applications that'll be submitted. So we probably won't ask to as highest percent as we did with the Parkway. We want something very competitive that's going to show what this program's trying to serve as, provide gaps in the funding. And then just all the other story components that's going to come along with this type of improvements in regards to safety, capacity, economic development. And then this is something we talked about too. We'll be reaching out for a handful of letters of supports from business owners, like you just heard earlier, or property owners. Mr. Lambert, definitely will ask for one for him, the county engineer, the mayor, and whoever else we can get our hands on just to make this more competitive application. So one thing is we don't have as much control in this application as we have in the past because, the county's obviously got all the cost estimate stuff and layouts and stuff that we're working with them to deliver for the application. And this is just one of the components that's going to be required within the full complete application. So tonight we're here to request that the City Council supports the local road improvement program with the attached resolution.
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions of council this evening? Otherwise, resolution is on page 116 of your packet.
Mayor Bain, I move approval of resolution 02-08-21-03. A resolution for the 2020 local road improvement program solicitation for Everton Avenue Cooperative Agreement Road Improvement Project. I hope I captured that correctly.
Second.
There's a motion from Councilmember Byström and a second from Councilmember Munson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Karen, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Husnick, Councilmember Husnick,
Aye. Sorry. Aye.
Councilmember Munson,
Aye.
Councilmember Byström,
Aye.
Councilmember Valento,
Aye.
Mayor Bain.
Aye. Motion approved. That concludes our action agenda for the evening. We did not have any discussion or workshop items this evening, so we will move on to staff updates. And we'll start with Patrick and then Dan.
Yeah, just a few things. I know everybody's interested in what's going on with Castlewood and the golf course. We are coming hopefully close to resolution on the new contract with the operator. That should be coming before Parks, Lakes and Trail and the council, hopefully I believe it's Tuesday, if everything works right. We've also had real good discussions with the restaurant owner and have almost come to some kind of an understanding. We still have to formalize that. I'll have a discussion about that tomorrow morning. We did have a real good meeting today with about the watershed study for downtown. That's moving forward, and we should have a joint meeting coming up soon with the watershed district to pursue whatever our options can turn out to be there. So that's a real good one. And then finally, just quickly, the airport business park, the two parcels, we should be making and having that closing hopefully within the next 2 weeks. The preliminary title work is complete, and we should be signing off on that shortly.
Very good. Any questions for Patrick this evening? Seeing none, let's go to Dan, and then we'll go to Chief Peterson.
Mayor, members of council, I have no updates unless anybody has questions for me.
Anything for Dan? Seeing none, Chief Peterson, and we'll go to Chief Newman after.
Mayor and city council members, I also don't have any updates for you this evening. Do you have any questions for me?
Anything for Chief Peterson this evening? All right, Chief Newman, and then Pete and Amanda.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I only have one update for you tonight. On this Thursday, February 11th at 7 p.m., we'll be having our first joint fire board meeting of the year. And that's all I have for updates, unless you have questions for me.
Chief Newman, has Columbus named their new appointed members since Councilmember Durand is no longer on council?
They have, and I will be sending that information out in the Zoom link meeting tomorrow.
Excellent, thank you. Anything else for Chief Newman? All right, Pete. And after Pete, we'll go to Donovan.
Mayor and council, I have no update for you tonight. Happy to answer questions.
Anything for Pete this evening? Seeing none, Donovan, and then Ryan.
Mayor, members of council, I have no update for tonight, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Anything for Donovan? All right, Ryan, and then Dave.
Mayor, City Council, I'll just give you some advance notice at our next City Council meeting on February 22nd. As long as the permitting is in line with Fifth Avenue, we'll come to approve plans and specs and authorize that for bid for the 2021 street project. Now knowing what our state aid balance allotment is that MnDOT submitted for our maintenance of state aid funding, well, we know where our budget can land for the 2021 double chip seal and full depth reclamation project. So we'll come forward at that meeting to authorize plans and specs for that. And then also potentially in March, one of the two meetings, we'll come forward probably with some resolution type, just like we did today with the Met Council I&I grant solicitation. That's going to line up with potentially 3 of our projects that we have in our CIP. So why not go after that money when it aligns exactly with what we plan to do anyway? So just giving you guys a heads up. If you got any questions about any of this stuff, feel free to contact me anytime.
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions for Ryan this evening? Dave, and after Dave, we'll go to Sandy.
Just one quick update. The postings closed for the 2 public works employees. That closed last Friday. Got about 45 people for the maintenance, and then about 20 people in for the utilities. So we will be reviewing them, and then hopefully by the end of the month, we should be able to come with you for a approval for our new hires. That's it.
Excellent. Thank you. Say, I don't know if I don't know who this goes to, and it's probably a combination, but I got a series of messages over the weekend. There's this is an active time of the year for the right-of-way access point on Woodland Drive. That the address it's 763 Woodland Drive is the address where the access point is. He has asked in the past that we increase signage or do some sort of a barricade. And I think we changed some signage, and even with the signs there that it's pedestrian traffic only, he is having significant amounts of vehicle traffic, and it's just become kind of a super highway. There were 8 different vehicles. He sent me pictures, 8 different vehicles over this last weekend that got stuck there. And one was stuck overnight and kind of ended up tearing up his yard a little bit. So I don't know, as you know, we think about closing those access points or doing more to create more of a barrier. This one in particular seems to be problematic, and just open to feedback or thoughts on at what point do we do something different, and something different probably just being some sort of a physical barrier to prevent vehicles from getting on and off the ice there.
Yeah, I don't know if this one for sure. I mean, typically we close them off for boat traffic. I don't know if this one was a year-round one. A lot of the accesses we still let vehicles and like UTVs and ATVs come in and off on these accesses. So if this one's supposed to be closed off, we can definitely look into that. I can talk with Donovan too and see. I can't quite remember. I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember if this is a summer thing or a year-round thing.
I think it's one where we've allowed ATV traffic, and I think that's not a problem. And, you know, ATVs, a side-by-side, a snowmobile isn't a problem. The problem is the trucks trying to go on and off. And it's just been a frequent mess there, especially this weekend.
Yep, we have a few other ones that we can put boulders or bollards up that can let that size through and then not let vehicles through. So that's definitely something we can do.
Is there something that would allow, I mean, those provide some value, right? So is there something, but we don't do anything to maintain plowing access to any of those access points, right? So it's kind of use at your own discretion. Is that
typically a lot of them, we push all the snow right into the access, and that kind of helps keeping traffic out because they can't go over the big pile of snow. But I know that one, a lot of trucks will come with their plows and then push the snow out of the way.
They're plowing it while they're plowing it open themselves is kind of and then not plowing it and
take our snow and move it somewhere else. Yeah.
Right. Well, in this one also, the resident who complained has been encroaching upon that right of way. So what he might be considering his lawn is actually platted, lake access.
This opens up a whole can of worms, doesn't it? Yes. Right. Well, I'd be open to a consideration of something that makes it just having vehicles stuck there overnight, and it just seems like it's gotten to a problem point.
Yeah, Donovan and I can work with it on this offline and figure out what I can make sure we get the backstory correct and then figure something out.
Thank you. All right. Sandy and then Jackie.
I have nothing further to add other than to let everybody know audit season is going to be starting. So we're going to be starting the field work in April. It feels like I just told you all that, but goes quick. So we'll be starting that in April and get ready for the June approval. Other than that, I have nothing.
Thank you. Jackie and then Karen.
Hi, I'm still learning, but I'm working on my first editorial calendar report. I should have that to you at the next meeting. I've taken over the weekly emails and I've been working on getting Facebook up and running.
Excellent. Very good. Any questions for Jackie this evening or Sandy? I missed that as well with Sandy. All right. Karen, any updates for us this evening?
Thank you, Mayor and council members. No, I do not have any updates for you, but I'm happy to answer questions if you have any.
Any questions for Karen this evening? All right, we will move on to council member updates. We'll start with council member Husnick and then council member Munson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I attended the EDA meeting this evening.
Oh, Sam, you're faded out again.
Where do I need to be? Here?
There.
I attended the EDA meeting tonight,
Ooh, you're faded out again.
where there was a discussion.
I can cover your EDA update.
The downtown, yeah, Mara will take care of the
Sorry.
update. Other than that, I have no other updates.
All right. Councilmember Munson and then Councilmember Byström.
No updates tonight.
Very good. Councilmember Byström and then Councilmember Valento.
Parks, Trails and Lakes had a workshop on February 2nd. I wasn't able to attend, but did receive a kind of a recap from Jamie. Ryan presented on the trail development 10-year plan. They're continuing work on their 10-year financial plan. They'll be bringing that forward soon. And they discussed the Flaw Field usage fees, have a little bit more work to do on that, but that should be coming forward as well very shortly. And that's all I have.
Very good. Councilmember Valento.
I don't have any updates.
All right. Just a couple of quick updates from me, just expanding on what Councilmember Husnick started. EDA met tonight. We had the beginning of our session with the downtown committee to circle back on feedback for the two proposals we've received for the new downtown plan. We did unofficially decide on a preferred vendor, instructed Dan to work with that vendor to come back to have another presentation with us at the end of the month. And so that will be next step. So we are not at a final decision point, but did decide who we wanted to bring back in for a second conversation. And it really is making us take a look at what is it that we're looking for out of a downtown plan. We have two great proposals in front of us, but two very different approaches. And so it was a good discussion on our priorities and what we're looking for in that plan. We also approved the 2021 work plan and heard an update from the county on the recent round of grant funding that they have approved. As expected, they were oversubscribed, more applicants than they had dollars from the state for the latest round of COVID grant funding, but happy to hear that they have been able to move those forward and had a fair number of Forest Lake applicants as well. That's all I have by way of updates, and that is the end of our planned agenda this evening. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We'll take a motion from Councilmember Byström and a second from Councilmember Husnick. And Karen, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Husnick.
Aye.
Councilmember Munson.
Aye.
Councilmember Byström.
Aye.
Councilmember Valento.
Aye.
Mayor Bain.
Aye, and we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your evening.